Hi there, this is Amanda Frankel with Our Crafty Playdate, and I wanted to show you this card today. This is using one of the sets that we've actually used recently in a video. You may not quite recognize it because it's done as a Christmas card here, but this is the Painted Harvest stamp set, and this is the one that looks a lot like a sunflower. We made this card in a recent video. Looks a little familiar. So there are two things that I want to use again to kind of show you. We're using this stamp here, just the flowers, okay, no centers. Here we did the centers, we're not doing the centers. And also we did a cool thing with the copper trim in this card, you'll recall. And I want to show you another cool thing you can do with your ribbon and trim, and that is this effect here. It looks, I've got no light here, I'm so sorry. It looks like a real ribbon that you would see on a door because those ribbons never stay super pristine. They get weathered, and so it looks like that. This would be a great card to mass produce if you have to get a lot of cards out, and we made it a little more interesting by making it one that stands up vertically like this. It'll stand on a mantle as opposed to being a horizontal card like this. So let's get started. We are going to be using Old Olive ink and Real Red ink, and so we're going to match that with the paper. This is your Old Olive paper here. The Old Olive paper I have cut in the long configuration, so this is now 4 1/4 by the full 11-inch length. And you know, if you are mass producing cards, this is really just an 8 1/2 by 11 cut long ways, okay? And that makes a normal standard card base. I am going to go ahead and fold this, just match that up with my nails, hold it here and push away from me. And now it's a card that's going to stand up, so that'll work. And we can go ahead, you know what, we're not going to glue it right now. We're just going to put the parts over here. We're going to work on stamping. So this is the normal card base now. So it is going to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So the first panel here, the red, is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. Okay. And I really just want some to peek out here to make a frame. So this one is going to be 1/4 inch smaller than the red. You see where I'm going with this 1/4 inch thing? So this is going to be 3 3/4 by 5. And that's what we're going to stamp on today. And we are going to want our Stampin' Pierce mat. The reason that we are going to be using that is this stamp set, remember, is a photopolymer. It is the one that you can see through, and so it has no springy action. So we're going to Versamark it. So let's bring the Versamark in here. I Versamark my clear mount stamps. This set, as you may remember, I've kind of ruined it. Not ruined it. It's certainly not ruined. It stamps exactly the same, but I have definitely stained it in a class not too long ago. And still, as you'll see, it still works just the same, but it's just a little colorful now. Probably in my Cajun Craze era. Okay, I have Versamarked both of these. One is a more detailed image, this one, and one is a more solid image, this one. Generally, I like to stamp the solid one first because you're going to stamp off and then stamp this on top of it, the more detailed one. But because it's harder to see through now that I've stained it, I'm going to do this one first. This one is going to be full color, okay? So I'm just going to stamp it right on there. With my Old Olive, I'm just going to ink it up like this, and I'm going to center it a little, and I'm going to stamp and lift. Good. And now I'm going to, it looks super dark, doesn't it? It's just because it's wet. And now I'm going to ink up my other one here that is just the more full wreath, but not as solid. So it's going to be super inky here. And now I'm going to stamp off once, which just means stamp somewhere else. And now I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to, now see how I can see that hole right through there? It makes it easier to line up. If I had stamped this one first, it would have been very hard for me to line up with that hole. Well, harder, let's just say. And I'm all about ease. So that is our first phase here of our wreath. And I'm going to let that dry for a second. It's going to lighten up as it does. This is my Real Red here. And I'm going to use Real Red for two different things. I'm going to use it for my sentiment. I love this font. Isn't that fun? This is from Snowflake Sentiments, and it's got a bunch of them. We used a bunch of them in class last night, as a matter of fact. But we're going to be using this ginormous Season's Greetings here. It's got a little smudge on it, so I'm going to wipe that off first. There we go. Okay, you don't need to Versamark this one because it's red rubber. All right, this doesn't stain. And also, I don't really need the matte because it is clear mount, so it's got squishy in it. So since it has squishy, I just am going to move it around on my ink pad. This is an important step, by the way. You don't want to mash. You just really want to tap, but you do want to move it around because you can see on my ink pad where it's darker here and lighter in the middle, everybody goes right to the middle and then they expect full coverage. You got to kind of move it around. All right, we're going to make sure that we're not doing it upside down. We are going to eyeball it. How about that for eyeballing? We'll see. 1, 2, 3, lift. Good. Okay, and now we are going to bring in these little dots. Isn't that the cutest little block? Oh, it's so tiny. It looks like a nice cube. The little dots are right here in your Painted Harvest stamp set, and it would be great if you're doing something like a spatter, but you can also use it as, in this case, our holly berries. We're going to Versamark that one real well since we're using red. If I had used green on these and not the red before, you wouldn't be able to see it. Okay, so I have Versamarked this. I'm going to get some ink, and I'm just going to make a couple little holly berry areas. I'm going to twist them in my hand a little. I don't think it really matters. You don't have to do that. Actually, you really don't have to do anything, do you? All right. That is a seriously holly berry laden card. Okay, so that part is done. So really all we have left, and you can see that this is just so easy. All we have left is this ribbon. I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm going to bring in my bow maker. My bow maker is my best friend. And this ribbon is really just 1/8 of an inch red ribbon that came in our holiday catalog. You can see I love it. I've gone through several skeins of it so far, but it's like this, and it's got a little sheen to it, and that little sheen tells me, hey, this guy will melt. If it were just a solid cotton ribbon, this would not work, right? But because I can see that little bit of a shine, I know that this ribbon will work. So in order to do this, and this is a double bow, you can see 2 ears there and 2 ears there. So I'm going to wrap it twice. That's the only difference. Once, twice, down, start over, once, twice, hold that. Okay, now go over the back, pull this one to the back, and tie it. If you are mass producing it, you don't want to have to be tying these little bows by hand. I pull straight out from the ears, and I center my knot. If my knot is over to one side, I just give it a little tug to the direction I need to go, and then I can move my knot around. But that looks pretty good, and then I just pull it off. And it is really a double bow. Hold on. Oh, there we go. You can see it's got lots of little ears there. Okay, super cute. I will trim it down, and let's do that before we heat it. I'm going to get out my snips and just trim that down a little. Just trim that down there. They are sharp, but I'm a little gluey from yesterday. Okay, now here is my bow, and I want it to kind of shrivel up like that because that would be pretty. But what a cool feature to be able to shrivel it a little. So I'm going to use my heat tool. My heat tool has 2 settings. It's got a low and a high, but we're only going to use the high. This is my heat tool. So just slide it all the way over, and you don't want to hold it with your fingers. You might want to ask me how I know one day on that. All right, so I'm just going to start heating this up a little bit, and you're going to see some shrivel. You know, if you have the old purple heat gun from back in the day when they first came out, that is not made by Stampin' Up, I know you probably do because everybody does that I've talked to. Everybody has them, and I know that they lasted pretty well, but they only have one heat setting, and it's going to die soon. So why don't you go ahead and treat yourself to this heat gun? You can hear how quiet it is. That other one sounds like a Hoover. All right, let's see. We're getting this heated. You can see it starting to shrivel a little. And I want it to, oh, there, nice. See that? Am I kind of in your way? Isn't that cool? Oh, so very cool. Okay, that looks good to me. I can give it one shot without the scissors holding it. Okay, so there is my bow. And all I need now is a glue dot, and I'm getting there. So let's start gluing everything together. These are my panels again. This is my liquid Tombow favorite. I tell you, I've been using Fast Fuse lately, and it's pretty good, but there is a learning curve with that. This, it is forgiving. If I put it on here and it's not straight, I can just wiggle it a little bit with my thumbs, like, oop, that, see that? And make it more straight, and that is something that I really like to do, because as much as I know I need to wear my glasses all the time, I don't always wear them. I always wear them, but usually on the top of my head, and then I'm looking for them. Okay, I'm gonna center this one on here. Good, and now I just need a glue dot. The easiest way to get a glue dot on a bow, last night we had people kind of peeling the glue dots off the pack and then trying to stick it on the back of this. The easiest way to do it is just take your bow and press it up against your glue dot. And I'm sorry, my roll is empty, so I had to use these other glue dots, but they're made by the same company. They just come in a different way. And now I'm going to just stick that right on my wreath, and we are ready to go. I might spread out these little ears a little bit. There you go. So there is my second card, and now you know what? I'm going to trim this just a little bit more, just a hair. And this is a nice size. It's going to go through the mail without any kind of problem because it has no dimensional aspects on it at all except this bow. And I will show you next week how to tell if you can mail it without extra postage. But in the meantime, I've got 2 to drop in the mail, so I've got to run. Hope you enjoyed this. If you see something that you love, and I'm sure that you did, I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator if you don't already have one. My website is here, and I would appreciate anything that you purchase. If you need any help at all or have any questions, by all means, just make comments here and I will get back to you. I do check them regularly, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much for stopping by. See you soon.